Thank you, Marty. Avi Meyers here, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at www.ntnm.org, where over 60,000 people have made the mistake of watching our shows on YouTube. Thank you so much. It may not be as much as Rabbi Doug, but it's pretty good for the kind of show we got. But you know what? If you really want to see another good show, too, make sure you check out Take with Rabbi Doug, because that's also there. And, hey, we're really big on community policing. Caps24.org. Of course, Sonny is the newly reelected. For those of you, last time we taped, I didn't tell you, he's the newly reelected chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. And we're very pleased that for at least 2 years that he'll be in charge there. And in 2412, people made the mistake of voting for me, and I won that election. The funny thing is that the day before the election for beat facilitator, I actually got notified by the Illinois State Crime Commission that they had nominated and gave me their 2009 Community Outreach, award. And it would have been funny getting that and then losing in my own neighborhood the next day, but that's life. In any event, we've got some really big events coming up. Somebody that actually, you could, if you want to see a younger picture of him, check the beginning of the show, because he has been here before, but he hasn't been here for years and years. And it's a pleasure to have the person who probably definitely knows more about Evanston politics and the city of Evanston than just about anybody else, Bob Seidenberg. Bob, how are you?
I'll be a pleasure.
First of all, my pleasure. Bob, of course, is the city editor of the Evanston Review. Been there a long time.
Yeah, I kind of came with the franchise. I've been covering Evanston fairly seriously, at least for 2 decades and beyond that. I don't really want to go into specifics.
Right, I understand.
We had a candidate can't come in the other day for endorsement interviews. I was sitting in, and she used a terrible figure, like 30 years or something. I kind of blanched when I heard that. But I've been through a number of elections, and we have one this April 7th.
Which is going to be like Tuesday. So if you're watching this in Evanston, you going to tell people to vote that day, or?
I hope to be. I hope to be out there, getting comments from people who voted. And it's one of those once in every 4 years elections. So a lot of things are boiling to the surface over those 4 years, a lot of issues. You have to wait all that time, and then all the races come up at one time.
Now, Evanston, who's up for election?
Actually, all the seats. No, not all the seats. There's 6 contested aldermanic seats. There is the mayor's race, and that's become, oddly, the feature race. I say oddly because the mayor in Evanston doesn't have the same power that city council members have to really, influence things. She or he has veto power. They can appoint to committees or commissions. But as far as individual issues, that's up to that falls to aldermen, and they vote, and that's majority vote. Tie votes, she can break a tie vote. So I say she because our mayor, as you know, you've interviewed her, I'm sure.
Actually, she's never been on the show, and I've sat at the same table as her at Rabbi Klein's annual soiree over at Northwestern. But actually, she's never agreed to come on the show.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We're talking about Lorraine Morton, and she doesn't reveal her age, but she's been mayor since 1993, and she's retiring. She probably wants to stay home and watch Avi reruns. Can't blame her, can you?
Very good. She's. I've been told she's like in the 90 range.
We did have the reporters. We're just not. What can you say? We did do some checking, and she's right under 90. With the web now, it's great. You can find out all kinds of information about people.
Yes, you can.
Things for reporters.
I could probably spend my whole life looking things up. The only trouble is, what do I do with the? I'd like to do something with my life besides look things up.
That's an issue for sure.
Yeah, she's definitely disarmingly charming, and I guess she was principal of.
Yeah, she was principal for many years before she came on the council, and she kind of on the council she tread a a middle ground as far as kind of the touchstone issues in Evanston. In fact, in some ways, she was out of sync with the council on, for instance, fair share, Northwestern, tax exempt Northwestern, making a contribution to the city. She was against that. She feels that the university contributes in many other ways, and so I think now people are looking at a real. But she invested a lot of time in goodwill kind of gestures, showing up at many events, including the one you just referred to, cutting ribbons, presiding. I mean, really all over, kind of putting a face on, a city elected official, which we hadn't really seen before. But the mayor's race is getting attention, I think, because the seat hasn't been open for years, and so there's some excitement about that, I think.
Now, how many people are running?
There's 4 people running, and the mayor is the 4 people running are one is an alderman Elizabeth Tisdale. And that's who the mayor is endorsing, and a lot of the aldermen are endorsing her. She's kind of she's been on the council. I think the aldermen are comfortable with her. She's the 7th Ward alderman, so she deals with she's dealt with some institutions there as far as Evanston Hospital is located in the 7th Ward.
Oh, so she's on the north end.
She's on the north end of the city. And the other candidates, there's the Plan Commission chairman, and his name is Stuart Updike. He's a lifelong Evanston resident. He kind of he's kind of been on the Plan Commission during a pretty raucous time in Evanston. Evanston went through a real economic boom period in the last few years until recently.
Yeah. And
there have been real differences as to philosophy as to how the city should be developed. Should it go all high-rise? Should it go to 49 stories as one developer proposed? Should it be more balanced development and more varied, bringing in office space? So he kind of was in the middle of that. He was chairing a committee. He's more leaning to the very pro-development side. Pro-development is probably not an accurate term, but the more upward development. And the other 2 candidates, there's Jean Camps-Linwall, who comes from a real urban planner perspective. She can actually very much document why all these buildings that are going up are still not really making an impact on property taxes, and why it's a much larger issue than that.
Wow.
She brings a real expertise to the table. It's a really good field. And then there's Barnaby Dingus, who has been involved in business, building wind farms, really interesting guy. And he won a lot of hearts right off the bat by saying that he'd cancel parking enforcement especially for Evanston residents. You got to watch it, Avi, if you. After in the evening, as long as they showed proof of a vehicle sticker, of purchasing a vehicle sticker. And if you know anything about parking enforcement in Evanston, it's fair game. You have these little trucks traveling around, and issuing a lot of tickets, people that are in violation of the 2 hours on the meters, and the philosophy is that's done to defeat meter feeding and people occupying spaces. But if you're a new shopper, if you're just visiting Evanston and you walk around to your car and see a ticket on the windshield, there's also a feeling that it can be a real detriment.
I got a very heavy, I think it was a $75 ticket at the time because I parked on the wrong side of the street within 48 hours of a snowstorm or whatever. And that's an ouchie.
And that's and of course the city is in a perennial budget deficit. So
well, you've got something like close to half the property in Evanston is nonprofit, or
I don't. There's different figures quoted. It's a little misleading because I think it's off the tax roll. Sometimes it's some of it is public ways and streets and alleys and stuff like this. Northwestern has returned, I think, more property tax rolls in recent years than it did, but there is considerable, between Northwestern, the churches, synagogues, and some of the not-for-profit groups. There is considerable property off the tax rolls, and the candidates are debating, what do we do about that?
Yeah. Now, is there a favorite? Is there anybody, somebody raising more money? Is somebody more popular? Do they appeal to different elements?
I think right now that Alderman Tisdale is regarded as the insider. At least that's what we've called her. I don't know if she, particularly likes that term. Dingus, who I talked about, on the parking and some other proposals that are kind of outside the box. He's considered the outsider, not part of the, as he puts it, the club. I think, though, that both Updike and Linwall are, they're both trying to, they both come from, different constituencies themselves. I mean, Linwall has been really an activist in, establishing a Northeast Historic District that at first the university opposed. And, I think Stuart Updike represents kind of the Evanston, kind of the old Evanston in the sense, in a sense that he's been a lifelong Evanston resident. He wants to, one of his proposals, and he hasn't actually brought it up as much as you would think, was to restore the Varsity Theater. I don't know if you remember the Varsity Theater.
I do.
Downtown.
I used to go there.
Okay.
I liked it.
Yeah. Well, actually, I actually climbed in it. A guy still owns the property. You have to climb up a ladder and everything, and then drop through this shutter or something. Not. I'm sure my newspaper would have reimbursed if anything happened to me.
Wow. It's scary. Is that the one near the Chicago newsstand on Main? Or?
Yeah, actually, no. That was the old Coronet. This one is right by the Gap downtown, right by Starbucks, a place that I might know.
You might know the place.
Right
by
in
the way,
the
this
center
is actually a Starbucks cup from Washington in 1996 or
Really?
whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was aboard a ferry. My late friend Harold Blask and I were going up to the mountains, and this was what they were giving away, together with a tremendously expensive cup of coffee from Starbucks.
Things haven't changed, have they?
No. Well, that was the original home of Starbucks.
Yeah, that's true. But, so the mayor's race is getting a lot of attention, even though really the day-to-day, some of the really important issues, for instance, like, do we want a 49-story or now it's a 35-story tower, those decisions are made by the council. And the council is undergoing a change, too. There's going to be, there's 6 seats up for election. It's a 9-member council. And there's some very, very strongly contested race, some real impressive, candidates kind of, making this four-year waits, making this splash and really trying to, go for those seats.
How many aldermen are there total?
There's 9 aldermen.
Okay.
And a mayor. And the other position that's contested is a township assessor position. And so, a lot of the focus has been on the mayor race, but the aldermen, what happens there is really going to probably influence as much or more the direction of the city.
By the way, we are being rejoined now by Sonny Hersh, so you might actually see the shift from one camera to two. Is picking up Marlene, and hi Marlene, hi Jamie, and hi Edmund. That's very important, Edmund especially. So that's not to belittle Marlene or Jamie. That's his dog.
Oh, okay.
But
I thought maybe those were sponsors.
Sponsors would be. By the way, I should tell you and tell the people too that we're actually going to be submitting shows to Channel 25 and doing a commercial version of this show, which is the reason I'm learning Adobe Premiere right now, and because I can't edit that at Chicago Access. That's something I have to be able to do at over here. So. And hopefully Sonny will show me a couple of things about it.
So you guys are going commercial. Does that mean your guests are paid?
Oh, no.
Can I go to Taboon after this?
Sure. Sonny, get the wallet out.
Product placement. How much do we get on that?
Actually, we could. I have a... You know what? I'll tell you after the show. Taboon is great.
How come you're drinking scotch and I'm drinking a Diet Coke?
I wish it was scotch.
It's water.
Water! The scotch will be, well, actually, I just have bourbon, and I want to thank Terry O'Brien, who you can see in a couple of weeks. Terry was nice enough to bring these St. Patrick's Day leftovers, so we have some Guinness for Sonny and some, I'll probably have a Guinness, too, after the show.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. And, of course, hey, anybody wants to join us, there's a way to sneak around and not get on the camera and go over to the fridge and feel free.
I think I may do this show more often.
You should. You should. The fact of the matter is you're one of the truly fine journalists. Nobody knows Evanston like you do. And there is no touching anything that happens in Evanston without your name invariably comes up in any of those conversations.
That's true, and it's always spoken about very positively.
Yeah, it is. No question about it. How many people, there's what about 70,000 people in Evanston?
There are about 70,000. It's a little higher than that. And
all of them would vote for you.
Yeah. I did have a small role in an election many years ago, the first election where a woman mayor was elected. They needed to assign ballot position, so they took my hat and they picked the tickets out of the hat.
Cool.
So it was a semi-historic footnote.
And is that the actual hat?
Actually, it's not. I do recirculate my hats every once in a while.
As a matter of fact, Chief Kaminsky, former police chief Kaminsky,
right.
Gave me an Evanston police hat that can be found right now somewhere in the North Shore sanitary canal.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah, I was doing a show with Terry
sure.
O'Brien,
Sure.
and the wind took the hat, and he asked me if I wanted to retrieve it, but basically there is sewage being transported up and back in the sanitary canal, so I thought it was best to leave the hat on the bottom of the channel.
Despite Terry O'Brien's best efforts, I'm sure. I know
he actually offered to come back and to turn the boat around and go get it. But I don't think I ever could have worn it again.
That's good.
Now, I've had only one alderman. I've only interviewed, I guess Larry Sufferton counts as that Evanston person, too.
Right.
But who's the head of the party right now?
The head of the party, you mean of the Democratic Party?
Democratic Party, yeah.
Now remember, this is a nonpartisan election, although that's kind of an issue. The Democratic Party is getting involved to some degree, even though it's nonpartisan. It's not supposed to be, really a party-focused event, initiative. But the head of the party is, I think Bonnie Wilson is the president of DPOE. Jeff Schoenberg, state senator Jeff Schoenberg, is the committeeman.
Yeah, Jeff, come on the show, please.
But as you know, the DPOE has the big three of Larry, as you mentioned, Sufferton,
Larry Sufferton,
Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky at top, and Julie Hamos, who is currently state representative and eyeing statewide office, and they live in the wards. And they're entitled to say what candidates they like, and they're doing that. And they're also I think people, when they hear that, they don't just kind of factor it in as average citizens talking, and that's what they're hoping. It's fair game. Everybody wants to get their their 2 bits and more in Evanston as to who should be elected. It's a very key election, I think, in not only the 4 years, but because of Evanston is facing real challenges on the budget. Looking at hiring a new city manager, and has real economic pressures. How much development do we allow if development ever comes back, and do we, and what do we do about Northwestern? Should we put more pressure on them? Can we put more pressure on them? To step up more, and issues like that.
Now, who are they for, by the way?
Huh?
Who are the big three for?
Well, they've come out for Elizabeth Tisdale, the mayor, and Tisdale has been a major contributor to their campaigns in the past. She I don't know. I guess she has the funds. She's independently wealthy, I would say. Or
the north end of Evanston, some of it is really fancy and slick.
She's been a very committed Democrat and very committed to many progressive causes, and so she's established a real relationship with them. And she's also served on the school board, and she established a relationship with Jan during that time in terms of legislation in affecting schools. So she really has kind of a natural tie in there. Some people think, though, that that's not quite fair. You know, it's kind of the opposite story. Usually, you're looking at candidates and saying, well, who are they getting money, from, and what are the people's interest in giving them money? In her case, she's giving money to candidates. She's paying money out of her pocket.
Wow.
But of course, it is also bringing in support from them. Now, how much support? I think Evanston residents will be watching, because Evanston, the elections are, Evanston is a very independent city, and people there are very independent, and may only appreciate a certain level of involvement, beyond what they see as acceptable. The other, but some of the ward races are really contested. The first ward is a replay of an election 4 years ago, where the candidates, where the one candidate ended up suing, Judy Fisk ended up suing Cheryl Wolin, who's now on the council, and Northwestern over the election results. It was decided by 80 votes, and Judy Fisk, who really had the support, a lot of the support from the surrounding community, the single-family homeowners, people concerned about university encroachment, whereas Cheryl Wolin, her support was more university-focused. And in the end, she had all these students streaming in. Judy Fisk and supporters maintain, the students were really kind of induced to vote. There was we reported there was a wine and beer party that anybody who voted in the election, it was advertised in the daily Northwestern newspaper, would be entitled to go to the wine and beer party as long as they showed their ticket that they voted. Now, they didn't say vote for Cheryl Wolin or anything like that, but Fisk cried foul, said that it was obvious who the university was pushing in the election, and filed a suit. But it was dismissed. The judge did not find evidence or grounds to really support that notion. But a beer, maybe it was a beer and pizza party.
That sounds like more fun.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't encourage you or me in college to vote, I don't think.
No, I'm more like a bottle of Muscatel, and that would work.
Yeah. So that race is renewed, and again, that's kind of and they have other differences too, particularly around the size of the buildings downtown, which falls in the first ward, which is where they're at. Whereas Cheryl Wolin believes, look, downtown is developing. We really need to look to the future. We're not going to be able to, hold buildings down, and Fisk, who's also, supportive of development, thinks there has to be more controlled development. She thinks that there's a lot of empty condos right now, and we may be better off, she would argue, going with office buildings, which generate as much or more in revenue, and don't have the kind of pressures on as far as services that a multi-residential building has.
Interesting. Now, there was also a situation, and of course you covered it. I saw the story you wrote about one of the local schools here bought a parcel in Evanston.
That's true. Yeah, that's the kind of issue. Again, the city is under such pressure right now as far as tax revenue that they're looking at every situation, and this school just talk about Department of bad timing. They come up with their proposal. The school was Tiferes
Smee. Tiferes Smee.
Right, which is a Orthodox day school, and they were trying to establish. They had bought a property right by the Jewel on Howard and Hartree, behind the Jewel on Howard and Hartree. Right now there's a Vineyard Fellowship Church. And so the school would be on the other side if they had, and they needed zoning, because they bought the property, and really the property was not zoned for school use. They really bought it kind of on a flyer. I think they later testified, one of the officials, that it was such a good price, and it was kind of take it or leave it, and they took it, and they came to the council and wanted zoning, but of course they would not be paying property taxes. They're tax exempt, just like Northwestern's tax exempt, just like other schools are tax exempt. they were ready to. They were willing to enter some kind of agreement for payment in lieu of having an official tax agreement, but I don't think it was nearly at the kind of level that the city, would agree to. And the alderman in that area is like one of the leaders in saying, we really can't continue to lose property to tax-exempt institutions.
That's Ann Rainey?
Ann Rainey.
She has been on the show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she's very dynamic.
Yes.
Strong
I like her.
force. And again, the school, as far as timing, as far as aldermen, I mean, they did have a valid argument. I mean, industrial is not really going right now. So this site, the idea is, some officials were saying, well, maybe we'll bring in, somebody industrial. Maybe we'll bring in somebody residential. There have been more bites on that, but not recently. So it really wasn't, it's not really a hot site. But now they're kind of, stuck with it. I don't know what their next move will be.
This is like 6.5 acres and $3 million, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're talking about right.
That's with the old Sher Brothers building. That's where they made the V15-3, the world's finest phonograph needle.
Is that right? There you go.
I have one on my stereo, on my dual 1219. Yes, I still have a record player, people. I don't play any records on it anymore, but I do have it. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Consumer Reports rated the top 3 phonograph needles in the world, all products of Evanston made by Sher Brothers.
Yeah, well, at one time, Evanston, just like a lot of these communities, manufacturing was really, they were really bedrock industries. They provided jobs, steady jobs, good salaries, people that worked there, a lot of times they would stay in those communities, buy homes, but these communities are losing more and more of that, and you have shopping centers, and when you have national chains and stuff, and there's more variables.
Yeah, Evanston still has more local flavor than just about any other suburb around here, but like everybody else, there's less. I used to have my office on Dempster and Sherman, and also on Dodge, just north of Dempster.
Okay.
1335 Dodge and 1234 Sherman. And there still are some very strange stores around the corner over there.
That's Dempster and Sherman, you're saying?
I was at 1234, right. I was just south. There's a building, it was an arts building at the time.
Okay.
The Blind Faith Cafe used to be on the corner. I was in the building just south of the Blind Faith.
Gotcha, yes.
And, I think there was a rock store or something.
Yeah, that was kind of a eclectic counterculture sort of feel to the area at that time.
Definitely, and I kind of like that in a way.
So you probably fit in perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
You have long hair then and everything?
No, not that long. Not that. In college, I actually did, by the way. So
I've heard about you. I think we.
Warn your kids' parents. Definitely. I definitely got a problem that way. We've got about 1 minute left at this point.
Okay. When do I get my prize?
You get your prize right after the show, and we'll play the grand prize game. We'll put out the 6 bozo buckets, and
Well, I'm thankful you didn't ask me to handicap the races because knowing my handicapping skills and yours, I probably wouldn't have picked the winners.
Well, I don't. The truth. Well, I know you got the winner in the Ann Rainey race.
She's running uncontested. Yes.
Exactly. But do you think that Tisdale will?
Right now, I'd have to say, she's in very good position, if only because she's got the name recognition, and you've got a 4-person field. But people are running. It's just amazing. It's a very high caliber field. And I don't have a real sense. We don't really have sophisticated polling, measures right now, and people are working very, very hard. So it would be hard. I think I'm hedging. Is that
okay? That's right. But
I really am.
Nobody's voted yet.
Right. Well, there actually is early voting just started.
At this point, though, I have to say thank you so much for enlightening us.
Thank you.
That's Bob Seidenberg, the city editor of the Evanston Review. I want to thank you very much, and. Hopefully you'll check out his articles, in the Evanston Review, which is one of the really outstanding community papers that's still around.
PioneerLocal.com. Just go to the Evanston site in there.
Yeah, and you can read all. Bob is prolific writer, so check out his stories. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hersh, caps24.org, ntnm.org to watch the show on the web. We're really out of time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Avi.
Thank you.